Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you? Let's get into it. It is just about 8 o'clock. How was your weekend? My weekend was spent at a virtual high school reunion, or at least part of it. I think I missed everything in the middle, but I was there for trivia night, which was funny, very well done by a classmate of mine who I couldn't recognize because of his costume. But it was pretty interesting. It was done on a platform called CrowdPurr, and the answers appeared on the screen, and we were able to vote for them. And he kept kind of appearing in and out with a game show background behind him, and like that. His little mustache and bow tie, very well done. And then I managed to miss everything in the middle. Well, there weren't any notifications sent. You were supposed to keep track of all that yourself. And with everything going on here for you guys, that wasn't happening. But I did attend the sort of the closing, I guess what would be closing hobnobbing. So that was my 40th class reunion virtually, the first one I've ever done. So I don't know what you guys were up to, but I hope you got a chance to be outside. I've been noticing from my East Coast peeps that the fall weather is here, and I get to see the leaves turning. Of course, the leaves aren't turning anything here. I live in California. I live in Southern California, so it's pretty much tropical and the same all the time. Although it has been a lot more foggy lately, and that's kind of how we know the seasons are changing, because the fog burns off later and the fog comes in earlier. The marine layers are heavier, so pretty soon our rainy season should be starting. So that's the mundane side of life. So let's get into the transcendental side of life. So we're almost at the end of the opulence at the absolute, and today you should be able to see on the description here the Sanskrit text for text 35, which goes like this. Brihat samatata samnam Gayatri chandasam maham masanam Margashirshoham Ritunam Kushumakaraha. I sang that right away this week. All right, let me just go and say it, and then I'll go back to the singing. Brihat sama tata samnam Gayatri chandasam maham Mashanam Margashirshoham Ritunam Kushumakara. Back to singing. Brihat samatata samram Gayatri chandasamaham Masanam margashirshoham Rutunam kushu makara. Brihat samatata samnam Gayatri chandasamaham Masanam margashirshoham Ritunam kushu makara. Word for word translation. Brihat Sama, the Brihat Sama. Tata, also. Samnam, of the Samaveda songs. Gayatri, the Gayatri hymns. Chandasam, of all poetry. Aham, I am. Masanam, of months. Margashirsha, the month of November, December. Aham, I am. Ritunam, of all seasons. Kushuma akara, spring. Translation. Of course, this again is the conversation, the divine conversation between Bhagavan Krishna and Prince Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And the Bhagavad Gita appears right in the middle of the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata, Maha means great. Bharata, good morning. Bharata is a name for India, or for old India. Bharata was actually the name of a Raj, or a king, named Bharat, who was the younger brother of Ramachandra. So at that time, kings ruled over the whole world, not just countries, although there were administrators and so forth in all the different countries. So that is where this word comes from. Okay, so Brihatsama, the Brihatsama Tata, also Samnam of the Samaveda songs, Gayatri, the Gayatri hymns, Chandasam of all poetry, Aham, I am, Mashanam of months, Margashirsha, the month of November, December, Aham, I am, Ritunam of all seasons, Kushuma Akara, spring. Of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. Who doesn't love the springtime? Purport. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Samaveda. The Samaveda is rich with beautiful songs played by various demigods. One of these songs is the Brihat Sama, which is an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmins, is the most prominent. Good morning, Deanna. Haven't forgotten you. I'm going to take care of you today. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam because the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him in dislipic succession. The month of November-December is considered the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time, and people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. All right, there's a lot in here today. I'm going to try and illuminate or enlighten, what I remember and some of the things that I participated in and some of the things I witnessed during my ashram days for this and what I remember. So again, of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashira, November, December, and of seasons, I am the flower-bearing spring. So I'll start going backwards here. I'm going to go from the back of this end part of the purport to the beginning of it. Because we're in October, we are almost at the end of October, and November and December, the deep fall to winter months, are on their way. So the way that time is calculated in the Vedic calendar is obviously different. We go by a solar calendar, they go by a lunar calendar. Remember that Lord Krishna is actually born in the Yadu dynasty, or the dynasty of the moon. And again, it's considered to be the best of all months, November and December, because it's harvest time. Now, of course, India is considerably hotter than it is here, so the harvest can go on for a bit longer, and it is traditionally an agrarian society. It is still largely an agrarian society, and grains, such as rice and wheat, and so many other kinds of grains are essential to life. They are definitely a staple of the diet in Asia and Southeast Asia. I mean, China is renowned for its rice, but actually in India, rice is extremely important, all through Thailand, Cambodia, all these different places. And so rice, of course, if it hasn't been stripped of its nutrients the way we do here in the West, is extremely nutritious, and of course forms the basis for so many nice vegetarian dishes, right? You can make so many cool pilafs out of it. And actually that makes me think, I think I'm going to show you guys in the membership area this month of November how to make an awesome rice pilaf, because there are many that are sublime. So that's what we're going to do for cooking this month. Thank you for the inspiration. So that is why people are very happy. And of course, interestingly enough, or a corollary of this time, which I have mentioned in past Mantra Mondays, is that there are a lot of what you could call high holy days or very joyful Vaishnava holidays actually that fall in this time of November, December, that are considered to be extremely auspicious. One that is coming up is called Kartik, and Kartik lasts for a month. And during Kartik, that is a time that we remember the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. In other words, the childhood pastimes of the Lord when really he is just a toddler, and is extremely beautiful, extremely charming, also very naughty. And it celebrates the relationship, or the rasa, between Krishna and his mother Yashoda, and that relationship that they have with each other, but also the whole mood of the residents of Vrindavan, of Goloka Vrindavan and Vrindavan here on this earth planet, that are just drowned in ecstasy by the charm of the Lord in this mood, as he is playing as a human in this way. It's described that his lips are as red as a bimba fruit. Of course, he's got the adorable little chubby cheeks that toddlers and babies have. His eyes are painted with kohl. He's decorated very nicely with jewels. He wears shark-shaped earrings. He's got a pearl necklace on, all kinds of different bracelets. He's got a peacock feather in his hair. His hair is curly, as the way babies' hairs are. He's wearing yellow silken garments. And this is a time where a candle is actually offered every day, and a specific set of prayers or mantras are recited during this time, during the month of Kartik, which again falls in this month of November, December, which is considered to be extremely auspicious. It is said that any devotional service that you do during the month of Kartik is at least doubled. So you're actually able to make a lot more spiritual advancement during the month of Kartik. So it's like a bonus, just the way, we may give away t-shirts and prizes and so forth here on our Facebook page, on our channel, in an effort to quicken and closen our relationship to each other. This is a crude example. The Lord does the same thing. There are certain austerities or certain that are performed at certain times of year that just give you more of a lift, right? Like we have our sales, we have our Black Friday sales and so forth. So I guess you could say in a way it's sort of like a transcendental sale where you can get a lot more for a lot less. So I'll be sharing those. I'll be sharing those prayers for the month of Kartik. Maybe it's something I'll just do in the member area. I'm not sure. You let me know where you would like that. Maybe that's something more intimate I could do in the member area, and something I could make a special video for the Instagram under the highlights prayers for. Okay, so the other wonderful thing that happens in the month of November, December, speaking of grains and celebrating that, is that you may remember from about a year ago, I spoke about Govardhan Puja. So Govardhan Puja is another very happy holiday that happens at this time of year, and it consists of collecting all different kinds of grains. You know, even like semolina, you know, like when you grind down wheat, it becomes semolina. And there's all different kinds of sweets that are made out of this. There's a lot of really sublime sweets that are made. A lot of them which are made out of grains. So halava is one of them, which I showed you guys in the member area. But there's also something called a laddu. And a laddu is made out of, actually a laddu is made out of chickpea flour. So which is technically not a grain. And there is as Nanda Maharaj used to do, and all the gopas, the cowherd men of Vrindavan, all these grains are collected and are made into different kinds of sweets. The rice is made into sheer, into sweet rice. There's all different kinds of milk sweets. Of course, back in the day, no one was slaughtering cows in factory farms and torturing them. They were beloved members of the family. And all these sweets are brought to Govardhan Hill, and because Govardhan Hill is considered to be the mouth of Lord Vishnu, or the mouth of Krishna. So it's a very sweet little pastime because, of course, again, this pastime is centered around Krishna as a Kumara, Krishna as a young boy. And we know children love sweets. Krishna is no different. So at this time, the devotees, because they're worshiping, the bhaktas, because they are worshiping the Lord in this mood as a child, they offer the Lord sweets. So there is a reenactment of this pastime. If you go to any Vaishnava temple, any temple of a bhakta, you will see that the devotees will cook, I mean, pots and pots and pots, mounds of sweets and pots of sweet rice, and make laddus and make kheer, and they will make essentially a diorama entirely made out of sweets to represent Govardhan Hill. So Govardhan Hill, you create a platform, of course, for everything to sit upon, and you pile the halava on there and you sculpt it in the form of a hill. And then on the hill, of course, you put laddu boulders, and then you carve little pathways to make rivers of sheer, and you can put, you know, cookies on there to represent trees. And anyway, it's great fun. And then, you know, we sing a certain mantra and certain prayer. We circumambulate this Govardhan Hill. And then, of course, at the end of it, it's a lot of fun because the whole hill gets distributed to everyone as prasadam, right? Because it has been sanctified by the prayers and the mantras and the act of devotion of offering it in this way. So that's another really fun festival that happens at this time. Another festival that happens at this time is the Rasa dance. So this is another thing that's commemorated at this time of year, and this is the pastime when Krishna dances in the forest under the moonlight with all the expansions of Srimati Radharani, his internal potency with the gopis. And so this is the Lord enjoying himself to the fullest in this very carefree, youthful pastime. So Van Morrison may have a song about, dance with me under the moonlight, but this pastime of Krishna's is the original dance under the moonlight. And the ecstasy, that he feels, and the ecstasy that all his intimate associates feel, is beyond our human understanding and beyond our human calculation. Good morning, Rosie Diaz. Nice to see you today. I'm not sure if you wanted a t-shirt or not. I'm not sure if that's what you meant last week. Not to put you on the spot, but if you do, there's a link up there on the page, and I think I only have 14 mediums left because you're a little lady. So if you want that, hey, thank you. Have at it. So I just wanted to mention that because I tried messaging you last week and somehow I know you're a busy lady. Okay, so that is the joy of November and December. And then, of course, also, he mentions here, of course, spring is a season universally liked because it's neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. There are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes, therefore it's considered to be the most joyful of all seasons. So basically in Bhakta culture and Vaishnava culture, there's a party all the time. I mean, you could actually celebrate, and they do in the spiritual world, celebrate every single day, this relationship that they have with the Supreme. So just to briefly about spring, I don't have to tell you, we come out of winter, and then we start to see all these beautiful blossoms and flowers come on the trees, and the crocuses come up for the tulips and the daffodils, and the birds come back and they're chirping. And so all this renewal of life and this representation of life and regeneration is Krishna and is associated with Krishna, and spring represents Krishna. And yes, there are, again, another bunch of ceremonies that happen in the spring. There's actually another rasa dance that happens in the spring as well. There's, of course, the appearance of Lord Balaram, which is a lot of fun. That's when there is a feast that is made, and what distinguishes Balaram's Rasa Yatra is the making of a intoxicating drink out of honey. It's called the Varuni beverage. Lord Balaram likes to drink that and become intoxicated. And also the making of what we call Balaram cigars. They're kind of like cookies that are drenched in honey. So we have everything in Vaishnava culture. We even have intoxication. But of course this intoxication is in the mode of goodness. So that's another fun holiday that happens in the springtime. I believe, yes. Hopefully I am not mixing that up. And then there is Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day that happens in May. That is the protective form of the Lord, of whom Lord Chaitanya is strongly also associated with. There is Nityananda's appearance day. There's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day. There's a lot of fun going on in the springtime. Okay, now moving on. The Lord says here that the Gayatri mantra represents him. So it says the Gayatri mantra is very important in Vedic civilization, is considered to be the sound in our incarnation of a Brahman. Also Brahma as its initiator, and it is passed down from him and the disciplic succession. So I guess this is a good moment to say that there are 4 bona fide Vaishnava Sampradayas, and one of them is the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So you'll notice at the beginning of that is the name Brahma, or the post Brahma. I've talked about grandfather Brahma a lot here. So he, of course, is responsible in a grand way for the running and sort of establishing the principles of the running of his co-creation, this material universe, and all the Brahmas in all the different universes are responsible for that. And so as such, because he is actually also a Brahmin, that means that Lord Brahma is wearing the sacred thread and is chanting the Gayatri mantra. He is also passing that down through a line of disciplic succession. This is called the parampara, the disciplic succession. So that means that when you accept initiation from a bona fide spiritual master that is actually following the rules and regulations, and if you want, you can actually get Brahmin initiation or second initiation. The first initiation is just initiation to the chanting of the holy name, which should not be underestimated. But the second initiation and Brahmin initiation, the idea is that you can advance actually more quickly. And also there are different things that you are permitted to do as a Brahmin that you are not doing with just the first initiation, because there are more austerities that you have to perform when you take Brahmin initiation. There is more learning expected from you, and there is more responsibility expected from you. So when you become a Brahmin, you can actually preside over fire sacrifices, you can actually marry people, and you can actually become a pujari. You can become a qualified priest and actually step on the altar and directly touch and render service to the Archa Vigraha, to the deity. So you can't just go up there, but what's very important here, which is key, is the Gayatri mantra. So 3 times a day you sit quietly and you chant the Gayatri mantra while holding the sacred thread, while holding the Brahminical threads. And also, of course, you're remembering your guru. You're remembering the person who's helping you kick out the darkness. You're remembering the person who is helping you on the path of enlightenment as well. This is a relationship that is never destroyed, It's not like the temporary relationships that we have here in the material world, where we may be friends with someone for some time and then we may have a dispute or an argument and then the relationship is broken. This is not like that. This is an eternal bond. So simply by chanting this Gayatri mantra 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon and in the evening, you are, purifying your mind, you're purifying your heart and your being exponentially. So I have never taken Brahmin initiation because I never felt that I was ready for that level of responsibility. Partially it has to do with my own nature, because I tend to be more in the mode of passion. I thought, if I'm going to get there, I have a lot more purification to go, to be able to be that regulated, because that is also a feature of becoming a Brahmin, is that you have to be regulated. So here, he says, one must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri mantra. So these two things go hand in hand. So, for example, if you have taken Brahmin initiation and you are stepping up and stepping forward to take on different responsibilities, that must be performed every day at the same exact time. There is no being late. No, because being late, that is an offense. You have to be precise. You have to be precise in your worship. You have to be precise. Again, this is devotion, right? And so devotion means being on time with your intent all the time. All the time. So this is an austerity. It's at least an austerity for someone like me. But this regulation, and this adherence to a schedule is extremely important when dealing with the Archa Vigraha. Extremely important. So I got a little taste of that because I used to cook offerings in the ashram because we were a little bit short-staffed. So I was extended that mercy, basically. And so I was able to cook different offerings. And It was always, you know, a thing with a clock to be able to have all the trays of boga set up on time. So when I would bring the tray to the pujari was able to put that tray down in front of the Archavigraha on time, because then there's the offerings that he has to do, you know, or he or she has to do, you know, with the bells and the mantras and Tulsi Devi and all those things. So this is very deep. Okay, now let me see. So that's why he says this mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. And when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. So not to be confused, this does not mean that you cannot become a spiritually advanced person. Of course you can, but you have to work at it. This isn't something whimsical, and this is a deep commitment. This is a lifetime commitment, and you have to really be sure that you are ready to do it, because there's no backing out of it. There's no getting out of it. So it has to spring from love. Ultimately, there has to be, you know, that desire, that love there. Otherwise, how can you do this over and over again every day? How can you avoid it just becoming something that you do by routine and by rote? If there's no feeling there, you know, then you can't find new ways to serve, you know. In other words, you can't find new ways to love. You cannot find that nuance, and it just becomes humdrum. And that's why the chanting is so important, because if you don't stick to the chanting, then your consciousness just falls back down into material consciousness. And then that's when you get in trouble, because remember, the personality that you're dealing with is God himself. So these dealings with God cannot be done in a whimsical way, and we have to literally be on that same platform. So this process of sadhana bhakti and bhakti yoga is actually a rehabilitative process where it is reinstating us on that platform of pure goodness, of actually Suddha-sattva. But we have to at least be on the level of, you know, satya, just the material mode of goodness, to even be able to, like, boom, springboard up to the transcendental quality, Suddha-sattva. Okay, so now what's going on here? In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry, rhyme, and meter are not written whimsically as in much modern poetry. Okay, so, you know, there's something that we call here in the West stream of consciousness poetry. There's something wrong with that, you know, as an artistic expression, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the science of self-realization. And you'll notice, or you probably have noticed as I have chanted these mantras week after week, is that they definitely rhyme. There is a rhythm to them, and that they rhyme very specifically. And so these, again, these are, you know, the rules and regulations of composing poetry in Sanskrit. So there is, you know, there is a level of scholarship here that is required, you know, to do such a thing, because everything is following a siddhanta, everything is following a bona fide conclusion, and it can be quite beautiful, very beautiful. Excuse me, I'm just going to open a window because it's a little warm. Okay, the only person that came to mind that kind of approaches this rule in the West, you know, at least that I know of, because of course the language and the way we speak the language here has degraded over time. So it used to be, you know, when you went to school, you were taught grammar, you were taught penmanship. You know, if you wanted to advance in the study and understanding of the English language, you know, you could do that. That doesn't really happen anymore. People barely know how to spell, or barely taught that. But back in the day, and if you go back to like the day of Lord Byron, for example, Lord Byron was a poet that lived in the 1800s. English, obviously. We don't have lords here in America. And when you read his poetry, I actually have a copy of his poetry around here somewhere. I mean, it falls in line. I mean, every single paragraph that goes on and on and on and on and on, I mean, rhymes without fail. And it's amazing. I thought to myself, how does this poet, how does this man think of this? How does he keep coming up with this? So I think if you take the time to read Lord Byron, just some of his poetry, you'll kind of get an appreciation for what is being spoken about here, and the skill and just the understanding of language and its nuance, and how it can be used, and how the arrangement of words can subtly change the meaning of what it is that you're trying to say. So that's the deal with Sanskrit and the rules that regulate poetry. Okay, so now getting back to the beginning of this, where the Lord says that he is the Samaveda. So the Samaveda, which I've mentioned before, means song. This is like the book of songs, literally. And it is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. So I think that I may have mentioned, I think it was about a month ago or so, I talked about the Gandharvas, right? So the Gandharvas are living entities that live in the upper planetary system that are essentially the entertainers and the musicians in that realm, in that stratosphere of this material universe. And so they are, of course, they are familiar with these songs, and, the demigods are familiar with these songs. Practically speaking, the Gandharvas are a class of demigods. Okay. And so it says one of these songs is the Brihat Sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. So there is also a science of music. And if you're a little bit familiar with Indian music and Indian ragas, for example, they are sung at different times of day. They are sung in the morning. They are sung in the evening. Here it says the Brihat Sama is sung at midnight, because there is an understanding that the universe vibrates, and that there are certain times of day where it is auspicious, it is more conducive to say and sing certain mantras, hymns, etc., than it is at other times of day. So this is, just a taste of that. I'm not going to pretend to be, an expert in Indian music, but, the little bit that I know, for example, when we get up to sing the prayers for Mangala Arati, those prayers are sung ideally at about 4 o'clock in the morning, somewhere between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Some places sing them later, but I always preferred, and I always feel like it's better to sing them during the Brahma Muhurta hours. The Brahma Muhurta hours are the hours before sunrise. Why? Because that is actually a very peaceful time of day. Those hours are actually considered to be in the mode of goodness, because the mode of passion, when the sun rises, the mode of passion begins, right? People get up, the birds start chirping, people start driving to work. It unleashes all these different activities which are considered to be in the mode of passion. But during the Brahma Muhurta hours, sleep is still going on. It's very quiet. It's easier to think. And that is an ideal time to do your meditation and to get up and to actually offer these prayers to the Guru, for example. It's a very, very sweet time of day. Okay. So there you go. Okay, Rosie, cool. I appreciate it. I very, very much appreciate it. I've got new album coming, and you know, folks buying merch helps me create. Okay, so let me think. Have I covered everything in here? Yeah. I actually found just a couple more thoughts on the Brihat Sama and also the Gayatri Mantra. I found a recording on YouTube of the Brihat Sama last night. So I think I'm going to put that in the notes here so you can hear what that sounds like, or hear, at least hear what that version sounds like. I was noticing that there were also some other videos showing how the Brihat Sama actually affects the brain, you know, how beneficial it is for the brain. So again, it gets back to sound vibration. So positive talk is definitely good for our brain, and transcendental talk is even better for our brain if we're open to that. And then the Gayatri Mantra, I believe that there is a recording by the artist Prema Deval where she records the Gayatri Mantra. She's singing it, and basically sounds like she's just singing, you know, one verse over and over again. Now, I'm not sure if it's one verse. Actually, I'm going to try and reach out to my friend Jamuna Devi, who is a Brahmin, and ask her how many verses she's actually reciting when she chants the Gayatri Mantra on the daily, to find out about that. But at least in popular culture, you can hear recordings of the Gayatri Mantra. But again, remember that when you take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master in the line of bhakti, who was actually following the regulative principles and is giving you this, and you are saying this 3 times a day, it is more potent. Just because you're getting that extra boost, you're getting that extra lift, and also because the guru is actually taking on your karma. He's actually taking that on. So, you know, I thought about this. You know, people say that Christ died on the cross for your sins. I mean, Christ was collectively taking on all the sinful karma, you know, that was going on in the region, in an effort to mitigate that so people could actually advance spiritually. Because it's difficult to spiritually advance if you're weighed down by the reactions of that. Yes, the tonality is important in all of that. But, you know, it is Kali Yuga, so we don't need to get too hung up on these things, because the fact of the matter is that we're unqualified in Kali Yuga, because we don't live a very long time and we're very troubled. We don't even get a jump start on these things. You know, I mean, look at us in the West, you know. We are so far away from Vedic culture. But this is the benediction and this is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this avatar, where he's not even discriminating. He's saying, just take, you know, chant the holy name. So this is why in general, the Maha Mantra or the Yuga Dharma from this age is the Hare Krishna mantra. This is exactly why. So yes, in previous ages, you know, when you would start to get training, you would be 5 years old, you know, and so by the time you got to be the age to actually perform these ritualistic ceremonies, by the age of 20, you'd already been chanting these and reciting these by memory for at least 15 years, because all these things are supposed to be done by memory. That's the other thing. You know, you actually have to know Sanskrit. So, yes, those things are important, and it's nice to hear someone do things properly, because, again, you know, if you are chanting something at a fire sacrifice, let's say, to give new life to an animal, you know, and you chant things wrong, then you're not going to get the desired result. You're welcome. So that is why we are not to worry in these days and times about I just realized I didn't have my microphone in this whole time. My goodness. I was so worried about being on time. I put this in. There we go. It should sound why we're not to worry during these days and times. We're constantly being disturbed by different calamities and different societal, struggles and all these different things, to worry about this, because you have to understand that, a lot of what I'm telling you here, we're talking about another space and time. We're talking about the earth when she was younger, in a different cycle, and when the mode of goodness was the rule of the day. Not the mode of ignorance, which is predominant now, which is seen in practically all of the activities that are going on and things that are allowed to happen and things that are allowed to happen on a government scale and an individual scale. Animal slaughter and cruelty and wasting of resources and the mistreatment of women, the mistreatment of children, the mistreatment of the elderly, and so on and so forth. These things were not happening at that time. So the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, is the Yuga Dharma for this age, because as such, by chanting it, we can liberate ourselves, we can lift the trees, the creepers, all living entities moving and non-moving around us, who do not have the tongue to chant and the tongue to chant. They do have ears to hear, but they don't have the appropriate equipment to be able to make the sound vibration. So that's why human life is so precious, because as a human being, we are actually able to benedict and bless. That's the deal. So, my friends, that is the conclusion of Mantra Monday for today. I will also be on Instagram at 9:35, delivering this same message, this same mantra. So let me conclude by chanting it again before I wish you a wonderful week. Brihad Sama Tata Samnam Gayatri Chandasam Aham Mashanam Marga Shirsho Ham Ritunam Kushu Makara. Of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December, and of seasons, I am the flower-bearing spring. Thank you so much for being here and giving me your association. I don't know about you, but this is literally the best part of my week. So have a great rest of your week. Again, if you want to get a t-shirt, remember they're limited edition. There's only 14 left in the medium. There's only about, I don't know, maybe 15 left in the extra large. In the larges, there's about 14 left in each one. So don't plan on making any more of those. It's a limited edition. And there you have it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. Namaste.